We were living in a camper on my in-laws' land. And after that, I convinced my wife, hey, let me go rent some more machines. I've still got this work. Let me try this. It's such a trap for business owners, especially skilled trades business owners, because a lot of us don't have that education that I speak against a lot of the times, but they will get there with the experience. That was another big slap in the face when I was like, the first time I heard about retainage, it was like, whoa, I've got to start looking at this totally different if I'm not going to get all of my contract. What do you even mean? Did you know at manhole 10 halfway through the job? Did you know at manhole 20? How about 6 months after the job? How about never? You didn't even know you lost money. You thought it was great and probably have sold 3 more manhole packages since. And you're losing freaking money on every single one because you don't have that inside accurate reporting on the production level. So I went years without having them every 30 days. But I will tell you, and I'm telling you, if you're sitting there listening to me right now, it unlocks everything. When Scott says it's the information to give you to make decisions, it truly is. It's not just me running around, oh my God, worrying about this and that, the whole team, because now I'm building a transparency within everybody. So guess what? They're all pushing towards making a bonus. They're all pushing towards making the job run right?
Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of the Mobilization Mindset. Today, we're going to get right into the trades, not in the classroom, but straight from the dirt. We're going to talk to a business owner, a founder, a CEO, who is one of the most open and genuine folks I have met in this business, who will talk specifically about the good, the bad, mistakes that were made, solutions that were found, and his story and journey can help save you years, if not decades, of problems and mistake. He also is the creator and host of his own podcast called the Blue Collar Business Podcast, and founder, CEO of Sy-Con Excavation and Utilities. Sy Kirby, welcome to the show.
What an intro. Thanks for having me, sir.
Yeah, man, I need an intro like that. That was awesome. That sounded like a lot of good stuff you got there. Man, and you do, bro. And you do. And I'm excited to have you on because what I like most about talking to you is it's very easy and genuine to understand. You talk about a lot of complex things, but you break them down in a great way. So I want to jump right into it, man, and get you talking and help some folks out. So
for sure.
All right, starting off, man. Tell me how you got started in this business. And, what I want you to focus on isn't like a whole long life story because it's a good one. But so we don't lose this audience out of the gate, talk to them about your story over those first 5 or 6 years, getting your face kicked in, what you learned. Because right now you're in a place where you have an amazing structure to your business and nothing but green pastures in front of you. And we could talk all day about that. But what people want to know is how the heck do I get there?
Man, scaling is so hard, and it's a little bit of luck, but I got to tell you, nurturing those relationships in the early years, I will tell you, is the biggest key takeaway for you guys. Nurture those relationships. Yes, it may not be a short-term deal right now, but there will be a long-term deal. These folks are going to be watching you. But man, I started out Mini X skid steer. I actually started a small excavation and utility business prior to Sy-Con and invested pretty much everything I had into it. And we were living in a camper on my in-laws' land. And after that, I convinced my wife, hey, let me go rent some more machines. I've still got this work. Let me try this. And so I will tell you, one of the biggest factors, shout out to my wife, Sarah, because wouldn't be anywhere without the support of her and everything she's put up with over the years, honestly. But literally, man, electricians, plumbers, anybody that had to dig, I was on a veterinary on-call list with every stinking dead horse that needed burying in the county. That was $100 to $200 back then for fuel money. I was going a long ways, you know what I mean? And it was just a dually Bobcat Mini X, Bobcat skid steer. And big thing with me that I think kind of stands out in my growth and scalability story. A lot of everybody relates excavation just straight up to dirt. I can't tell you how many I would show up for a $300 electrician's side ditch, and then it would be the builder. Hey man, the septic guy left it atrocious. Could you clean that up for an extra $500? Or hey, the plumber's here as well. Can you dig his ditch for? And it would just start compounding, right? Well, we went through this resi phase for 2 3 years, but my background specifically, 18 years old, job hopped around, tried to figure out, kind of what I was good at, maybe not necessarily what I liked, but what I was good at and I could perform well in advance with. And I jumped into the municipality water and sewer world very early, chasing water main breaks, fixing, climbing down in sewer wet wells, like crazy crazy things. But the experience I gained from those two public entities gave me what I think is a little bit of a different angle and approach for that Mini X and skid steer guy nowadays, because everybody and their dog is signing up for that 84 month. I think it's kind of I think it's criminal, in my opinion, that they can walk in there and just literally sign just about anybody up for 84 months on a skidder, and by God, they got a business. Now, look, I've got a podcast that truly tries to help them as well, but I'm not fighting over the same dirt that they are. And I will tell you, early on, 10 years, almost 10 years ago, we started in 2016. We're starting our 10th year next month. I'm super excited about that. But in the early years, it was tooth and nail Facebook community groups. Guys, do not sleep on those. If you're grinding for work in the early years, but now it's, hey, I need gravel on my driveway, and there's 86 comments, because there are folks talking about it and helping these guys get off the ground. But next level up from that resi work, I here in the state of Arkansas, I worked closely hand in hand with a underground fire contractor that put me on every commercial project here in this booming little area of Northwest Arkansas. And it started out with, scope gaps, just like on the resi side. Well, the same thing with the commercial side. I was already there. They were in a piss and match with the dirt guy on site. And it was literally just some, behind back of curb island issue. Hey, I'll capture that. What I didn't realize is I needed to be emailing and writing all that crap down, because some of those little $500 and $1,500 COGC deals never really came through. Things I learned along the way. But with that being said, I got commercially licensed, I think in year 4, had some help doing that, passed my test. And I think it was year 3, honestly. But anyways, from there, man, started taking on utility packages, and then transformed into dirt operations a couple years ago, 3 years at this point. And then, of course, here comes all this marketing. So that's kind of the fast forward
Yeah.
version of me.
So if you were to sum it up, you're now going to go into your 10th year of business. You've went from resi to light commercial to heavier commercial. Your business has grown hundreds and hundreds of percentage points from where you were. To give people an idea, you're not a small business at all anymore. You're well past the multiple millions of dollars in top line revenue and profitability, etc. When did you learn that you had to start taking things real serious that were outside of just doing the work in the field? And what were those things that you learned?
Dude, I can talk about this all day long, working on the business and in the business at the same time. And it's such a trap for business owners, especially skilled trades business owners, because a lot of us don't have that education that I speak against a lot of the times, but they will get there with the experience. I speak so heavily on, go find you an industry type CPA. And I know you agree with me. Well, I made the mistake. And as Scott alluded to early on in the intro, is I have a podcast and some other marketing campaigns to talk about the experiences that I've gone through. Me and Sarah didn't know nothing. We didn't just wake up being CEOs, and there was expectations set on us with doing this amount of money and etc. But I had to figure it out real quick when the bank account was real low and we still had bills and big bills. And we were playing, I mean, in this market, and you know better than probably I do, Scott, the numbers are astounding when you start getting into these larger and larger size projects.
Mhm.
And we just went from a utility size contractor to a total site contractor. And I would say from that light commercial point, man, it was a non-profitable. I started looking at it more heavily. I was trying to find those profit points that, man, do I need to buy a dump truck? I'm hauling the quarry and then I'd go buy a dump truck. It was a point that I hear you speak on and talk about on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn's fantastic, by the way. If you're not following, you should. The things I realized jumping from that light commercial world into the heavier commercial world, utility sized projects, was if I wasn't paying attention to profitability through the project, by the end of the project didn't matter. There was no point that I could really make a difference. And then that started compounding on more and more projects because you're chasing revenue and you're chasing profitability and all of this. So it just compounds on you so quickly. So then you start making time to work on the business and all these points that you should have been already focusing on. And then all of a sudden you think you can come out of a traco being an expert and, well, let me sit down and put my CEO hat on that I've never learned to acquire or wear. So let me sit down and look at all this P&L and balance sheet that's not accurate because you don't even know how to acquire inside accounting any standards to actually get you accurate reporting. And that's the first step. But literally it was slapping me in the face, cash flow problems. And as you know, this environment of the any type of trade. Now, there is some other trades that are more profitable than others, but especially us dirt movers, utility movers, those are, you know, 2 or 3 house payments out there for a crew to operate in every
Yeah.
day, you know, and it's hard to, nobody told me about retainage. You know, that was another big slap in the face when I was like, the first time I heard about retainage, it was like, whoa, I've got to start looking at this totally different if I'm not going to get all of my contract. What do you even mean? And I literally learned, Scott, straight up by tooth and nail experience. I knew how to do the work, but I dang sure didn't know how to run the business. And I'm so glad I started leaning on folks to get me there.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's look at this from a tactical perspective. What are the top, what are the two, three reports that are most integral to you from it working on the business standpoint that show you a certain set of information and what it allows you to be able to do from the field? Because, you know, like if I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm like, yeah, man, I resonate with all this stuff. I mean, I screwed up retainage. I screwed up cash flow. I got my ass kicked on this, my ass kicked on that. Okay, but what do I do? And so
Mhm.
like now you have a certain set of information you get, and that information allows you to make these sets of decisions. So talk about maybe go one report at a time, and maybe we cover two or three key reports, and that'll help people a lot.
I've got the three key step here, and it's probably a little bit, hopefully a little bit different than you've heard before. But of course, you know, I'm going to talk about the P&L and L and the balance sheet for number one, number two. But what a lot of guys don't realize, especially year 3, year 5, is that that's for the executive level. You've got to have other reporting. That reporting has to be accurate. That's where your money's coming in and out. But there also needs to be accurate reporting at the production level. And the one I want to highlight more than anything is what's called a WIP report. And you've probably heard of this, Scott, but it's a work in progress report. And it's very simplistic. It's actuals, known costs on one side and estimated on the other. And it's basically a flag waiver. So, the example, I actually talked about this on our episode the other day on my podcast, but it's the great analogy. Say we're putting in 20 manholes, and this has been drilled into my head, guys. So say we're putting in 20 manholes and you've got 2 guys bid for it and all the forms, and you've got enough concrete and you've got 2 days for 2 guys per manhole. Okay, cool. Well, come to find out, Johnny picked up so and so because they were rained out for those couple days and couldn't really put any pipe in, and there was 3 guys on the crew, and oh wow, it's actually running 4 days per manhole, and now we're 4 or 5 manholes in. My question to you, and what this RIP report can tell you, is that if you have accurate data going in, you need to find out on manhole number 2 that this is going awry, and maybe not act on it. But I will tell you from personal experience and having piss poor reporting and piss poor information coming out of the field by my own failed systems, not requiring the information to be set daily and weekly. But a lot of guys will sit there and not find out until the end of the year on that P&L. Man, why am I losing my freaking butt on everything I touch? How did we lose $200,000? This doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
Well, let's go back to our manhole conversation. When did you know? Did you know at manhole 10 halfway through the job? Did you know at manhole 20? How about 6 months after the job? How about never? You didn't even know you lost money. You thought it was great and probably have sold 3 more manhole packages since. And you're losing freaking money on every single one because you don't have that inside accurate reporting on the production level. So I will tell you that whip report isn't anything fancy. Um, it is the key for a contractor to not only show at the production point, but this also feeds. It can feed into the executive level. Not to go too
Yep.
far and crazy, but it's literally as these accurate known costs come in the door, somebody's opening the mail, somebody's throwing invoices in QuickBooks, whatever, it all gets adjusted and into that job column or row essentially. And here we had $16,000 worth of labor, and all of that against that starts eating away at it, and it's a race. But as soon as I see labor go through the roof, as soon as I see gravel go through the roof, as soon as we see any type of material equipment, like any of those generalistic columns, we can catch it then. I'll
Mhm.
tell on ourselves from this year, the whip report, literally, we haven't been doing this for years, guys. I'm telling you, we're just now over the last 18 months really turning the ship. But in the first 6 months of this year, one job that I thought we were home running on, dude, I thought, dude, this is the one. Well, come to find out, in the undercut phase, we did find out as we were doing it that the program that we bid, we have a training call being told one way and we have a training call to be told the other way. Doesn't matter. It's about a $50,000 kick in the nads, man. It's between trucking and dirt coming into this job. And I'm sitting here going, how did this happen? Well, we went back and we looked at our data and our estimation, and my estimator looked at me and he's like, "Look, here's the training call one way, here's training call the other way." But he was just distraught that he knew the amount of money that we were going to be taking a hit on. And I'm sitting there smiling, and he's like, "What are you happy about?" And I'm like, "Dude, I have been going almost 10 years at this point, and I have never, ever lost money and known the next day. Now I've got this entire project, whether I can make it up on the utilities, I can make it up on the storm drain run. Materials are what they are, but maybe we can adjust production rates. Maybe we can adjust labor. Maybe we can adjust the equipment on site to still get the job done on the same schedule. So that it can go even a little bit further, and that's what we're working on right now for the production team inside internally. We're trying to literally have a detail per whip report per project, so the production team is also feeding back real-time information every single week to our estimator, so he can be literally looking at A crew, B crew, C crew's production rates to adjust live time and real time.
So let me dive into something real quick with you. So couple quick questions to sum this up for folks to like bullet point a
Sorry.
couple missing holes. Who helped you set up those reports and reporting structure so that when you had a whip report, A, B, your internal team knew how to put it into QuickBooks that also had the right line items? Who set that up for you?
Man, we were just talking about, it came from my industry type CPA that has saw the struggles with these contractors over and over. And if I honestly would have never known, and it's not anything. I truly, it's not this some craziness, and there's templates out there that will
Mhm.
give you a generalist knowledge, but he set that up and said, "Look, this is your flagpole to tell you everything that's going wrong in your business, but you've got to work on estimation and production first to ensure that we're good and solid there. We're selling work and we're still producing at a good, so we can have real-time accurate data to feed this report." And
That's
so I
right.
had to start there at that level because this man, I mean, he's amazing. Truly. First client, I was one of his first clients in 3 years. He doesn't take many clients on. And he looked at me in my office, and me being a little bit egotistical, I've been very humbled since then. And he looks at me and I'm like, "Man, I got the best team ever, man." "Well, you do? How many times you been out there this week?" "Uh, You've got a production issue or an estimation issue or a little bit of combo of both. So if you got the best team, so you're telling me it's all your estimator?" Oh, dude, it hit me in the face. I ain't never been talked to like that. And I'm like, "No, sir, you're probably right. I can't." This guy's been doing this 30 years with contractors 15 times the size of me and giving them good, honest direction, and so basically he helped me set that up. But I got to give a little small shout out to another key guy there, my bonding and insurance guy. My bonding guy is very key. And as utility contractors know, everything we do public infrastructure wise has to be bonded, and your bondability is everything. So he actually definitely put the links together to this specific CPA. And I want to tell your audience, in 10 years, this was my sixth CPA, my guy.
Yeah.
And some ones that really put us in the wrong way.
That's awesome. So the CPA built you what I like to refer to as the financial infrastructure of your company.
Yeah.
And then your internal resources operate to the SOPs of the internal infrastructure as established by your external construction accounting firm. And then that combo produces a report to you, the WIP report, which allows you to see a problem at 2 manhole covers instead of 20, or in the grading phase where you're about to lose $50,000 and you can solve the problem and have the rest of the project to figure out the solution. That's the answer. And so what I always like to say to folks too is it's not that you don't know what to do when you just don't have the right information, but you could see, Sy, like how quickly you were able to decide what to do when you had the right information in front of you. And I think that is such a key point for people that are listening to this now to understand. It's not that you don't know what to do, man. It's that you don't have the right information. And so the thing to do is get the right people, like you mentioned, relationships, i.e., in this situation, that's a construction accountant. Let them do their thing to build the infrastructure. Be willing to invest the money it costs to have them come in because it's an annoying bill. It's one that you can't quite grasp onto because you don't know what you're going to get out of it. But that's
Mhm.
why construction accountant is the key, not accountant. And then
Industry type.
you can use these reports that you're talking about. Okay, P&L and balance sheet are awesome. Monthly reports, that's your report card. If you are trying to run a business and you don't get monthly financials, honestly, you're only handicapping yourself. Like
Yeah.
a lot of construction businesses only do it quarterly. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't know what kind of decisions you can make on a quarterly basis when you have this much labor and materials and cash going out the door on a daily basis. It's astonishing to me, but too many companies do it.
It's
Okay, but what's another report that you use in the field that I think will make a big difference to folks to be able to make the real-time decisions on the business while the project's going on?
Man, if you're not having your guys clock in with all the software nowadays, I got to talk about our labor reporting, because the other big swinger here, yes, you've got labor. I'm sorry, you've got all these materials and, cash going out there, but your number one cash is your payroll, right? And so how do you even know if you've estimated the guys to be there 6 weeks or 600 hours or 3 days or however, you know, if they're clocking into that job specifically, that's also real-time data that's going straight back to the estimator. "Hey, I bid 3 days, took them five. Why did it take them five? Let's go back and look at those daily logs." But um, that's it's all such an inner web, but like the project management side of it, and I didn't see those links. And I didn't want to skip over just before we keep talking about labor tracking here, but your P&L and balance sheet every 30 days, guys, don't feel bad. I went years without having them every 30 days. But I will tell you, and I'm telling you, if you're sitting there listening to me right now, it unlocks everything. When Scott says it's the information to give you to make decisions, it truly is. Now, here's a strong point that I will talk about is that a lot of guys in the blue collar and skilled trade space don't even know how to read them. And educate yourself, but it goes back to that CPA level, having somebody that can teach you this stuff. But you have to have 30-day reporting. But now we're weekly reporting on our labor, and our whip report is over here telling us where our materials is and kind of an overall flag. But I track my labor every single week in our, I get to see, all right, are we averaging 600 hours a week? Are we averaging just some high level stuff to kind of put in the back filing board of my mind? But at the same time, I can be watching a project that I know we really skimped labor on to get there, or really tight timeline, or we bid it a certain way and it has to go that way to make the job profitable. I can sit there and look at that every week. Hey, why do we have 5 guys on this job? I know it was bid with 3. We sat here in our internal pre-con and discussed this. So, um, that's the other key thing is labor will swing you. And I will tell you, I've got such a heart with business, and when I sit here and say that, there's a lot of times during when you get in between these lulls and those projects elongate, and you've got 2 or 3 guys kind of standing around, and you're waiting for the next one to kick off. And do I keep these guys on? Do I not keep these guys on? I've put all this years of investment and training in it. It's hard, especially when you're looking at it every week. It can be tough, but all you can do is make the best decision that you can with the information that you have. That's what I'll tell you to answer that.
Speaking of labor, you switched and started paying your crews more on a performance-based model. How did you do that, and what does that look like?
We are still in transition of that 100%, but literally the systems, I wish I would have done this years ago, but basically we have been researching this out the wazoo over the last 8 months and going, hey, because the one thing I was scared to death to do with my guys, Scott, is roll something out and dangle carrots over them. And if you want to, back to what we were just talking about, if you don't have a good set standard of inside accounting where the money is tracked and everything is going, and those project managers are watching their direct job costs and indirect job costs back and forth, like that all equates into the equation. But how we are attacking it, we've got about 5 KPI metrics that rework is a huge deal in our world. Every time you fire that machine up, we only get paid to do it once, guys. So if you're putting the dirt back in place 6 times, you're losing money on the second. So, and in the pipe world, I had a bad scenario happen today, and we did it ourselves, but it cost us some money and time. Get in there, get it knocked out. The KPI metrics, I'm not familiar with them enough to sit there here and talk about them, but we've gone 4 different ways of how we can attack this overall for the company, not just the employee or the employer, but we want to make it to where they have a dang good set base salary, but it can be swung either way on these KPI metrics that they can see straight off the bat: rework, labor, basically budget. Did you come under budget? What was the extra additional costs elongated through the entire project, and length of duration? So they get to work those out, and that those come directly from their reports is how it's going to be worked and worded. But we're literally have had such a set standard for how we've used to do things for such a long time. And I have brought fractional help in, is where I was going to go with that. It's not like I just miraculously woke up one day, guys, and was like, oh, I just need to start doing all this. We brought in the right fractional help to guide the ship. And one of the big things was highlighted back to me from feedback from the team is we want some type of bonus structure. I've always done Christmas bonuses, or normally, if it's not a bonus, we take the full 2 weeks off between Christmas until the other side of New Year's. A lot of my guys travel over that time, back and forth and wherever. So, but it's, I, I have got to get better at that. And then we have been working, striving, not just for them, but for the overall profitability of the company. Because the things I have been researching and studying, I've been slapping myself in the face like, what are you doing? But I have taken and setting that foundation, like you were speaking of, on the inside accounting model. Make sure we have somebody overviewing that inside accounting so that we can roll that out. And I'm looking forward to roll that out here at the end of the year. But we've got enough change happening over the first 6 months of this year, and that's rolling out as we speak. I'm talking about job descriptions, to kind of go off in that spectrum, but career roadmaps. I did personality tests with, I know you guys may shoot me for saying that, but like literally I wanted to figure out the communicational links that's going on. And Miss Shalina has done such a good job in pushing me out of my comfort zone to make sure I can be a better leader, to understand everything that's needed that drives profitability. But
Yep.
yes, bonus structure, can't wait for all that out.
So
Other than,
you're
go ahead.
big on accountability, but how do you follow through on that at the
Hmm.
same time without being a micromanager that everyone hates?
Well, I overall have trouble with accountability. I have major self accountability. Um, this has been a funny one because I struggle with that exact thing because my heart and mind have such a battle, especially when it's people that you've, had personal attachment. Look, some of these folks have been here 50% of the time that are, not 50% of the length of the company when I say that in time. But like some of these folks, I'm sitting here going, you've been here 4 years and you're going to leave a product like that and drive away. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go back and then we're going to go back again. But I will tell you, I think this is the problem with accountability and entrepreneurs is they don't delegate quick enough to people, but there's a trust factor there. But the delegation, once it gets so delegated, you have got to build a trust but verify system some way, somehow, top to bottom. You cannot micromanage these peoples as you're trying to implement these systems. You have to live and die by your own systems and show them that you're willing to follow whatever's put in place to ensure, the same goal and direction we're all heading for. And once they see you starting to grab a hold of it, they're like, wait a minute. Okay. Okay. This
Mhm.
means we must need to be doing this. I'm not a big guy to stand up there and go, hey, this is what we're going to do. I never ask them to do anything that we would never do or I would never do personally. And when you start talking about, utilities, you're talking about usually some dangerous digs, shoring, benching. Like there's some things that there is not non-tolerable things. I've sent folks home for a week-long period for just putting the entire crew in danger of not thinking and planning and executing how we should be digging an 8 foot plus 10 foot plus trench because lives matter. And those are things that I 100% like non-negotiables, right? Safety, of course. But there's other things that I'm definitely have more lenient on that I think it's because of the suppression of working on the business. You
Mhm.
kind of lose your focus of working in. Well, somebody else is going to tell them about that, or I better mention that to so and so needs to write up onto the punch list on Builders Trend or Procore, so they get their notification. So you do which, follow that system, but then there's a couple failures in the links below you, and you're not sitting here checking and balancing those systems, or somebody isn't, then you're going to wind up with frustration when you do walk out there and go, why did you not do this? Or why are you not doing that? If the communication link, I think, fixes the accountability link. And if you sit them down, we've done it multiple times over the last 6 months, and go, guys, this is the direction we're heading. I understand we've been heading this way for a very long time, and this feels comfortable and this feels cool, but this is unprofitable. This way's profitable. Here's the things we need your help on. Here's the things we're going to reshape and hold ourselves accountable, as me and Sarah as the business owners and the leadership team. But we need you guys to hold yourselves accountable to make sure we all drive to profitability. I think that was the biggest switch. And I had guys that didn't want a part of that, have vacated. But at the same time, it's a two-way street. And
Mhm.
once you
Yeah,
lead them down one way so long, and then you yank them and yank them and yank them enough to go the other way, some don't want to go the other way.
that's
And that's
true.
okay too, guys. Let them go.
When you started tracking all these things, performance, whip, records, history, what are the things you learned that made you all of a sudden implement changes in the way that you either bid or
Mm.
schedule work?
Everything that I have learned from these inside accounting, reporting systems that we've put in place through these meetings to ensure that we're catching things before they get out of place is all for the estimator. We have literally, from our daily logs, let me not go too far off in the weeds here, but this is to the level that we're going, is that we want it as quick as possible out of the field back to somebody in the office where they can go view it at any time they need to. And so basically, when those daily logs hit, it also hyperlinks over into a OneNote and an Excel file, so that Dylan, our estimator, first ever employee, shout out to that guy, love him to death, but he can basically go in there and see, Sam moved how many yards of dirt in place, or how many loads that day. Well, traffic, okay, school was in session, school's not in session, maybe we can lose. It's that kind of information. But as you're dealing with such an aggressive market like we're dealing with, high interest, the tariffs got the commercial world all over the place, and all those uncontrolled variables that we have to deal with as construction entrepreneurs, you can't do anything about that. And so you just literally have to set yourself apart in your production data gathering, and beat that home. So as soon as that hits that OneNote file, not just beat it home and get it in a properly documented, not just a bunch of garbage in a job titled on Builder's Trend or Procore. I mean, they make those softwares to make it easy, but those production data coming back, my estimator is now, he wants this whip report detail. Now he wants a little P&L per job, and it's driving him to ask these questions to what? Chase profitability. It's not just me running around, oh my God, worrying about this and that, the whole team, because now I'm building a transparency within everybody. So guess what? They're all pushing towards making a bonus. They're all pushing towards making the job
Yeah.
run right, right?
Alignment.
Yes, sir.
You were passionate also, and I talked to you the last time about finding ways to, when you do get stuck in cash flow pinches, finding ways to get through those cash flow hurdles, and the right ways and the wrong ways. And you've got a lot of experience in all. Maybe touch on some of those delicate topics a little bit, that for folks that are out there in a pinch. Like you've said, you've been stuck on Tuesday, like figuring out how you're going to make payroll. I mean, everybody's been there. What
Thursday, my guy.
what are
Like,
your takeaways on getting
uh,
debt, financing it? What's your thoughts?
uh, stay away from MCAs. I'll just tell you that, guys. Any of that garbage. But that entrepreneur that's sitting there that actually cares about his people will do anything to make sure his people are taken care of on Friday. But those cash flow pinches, why do they hit you guys? Well, it's everything that me and Scott just talked about combat these cash flow issues, but those uncontrollables, they also stack into the cash flow issues. And you can do everything you can do to try and prevent, getting the next job started, and all of them won't start because we've had all this rain, and you're just sitting there trying to figure it out. But those nurtured relationships that I was speaking about, they come in key, because a lot of these people are sitting back just watching you. Yeah, they probably not giving you a whole bunch of pat on the backs, but if you're operating in the right direction, there is so many more people that believe in you, you would not even understand. And of course, those relationships help through those moments, and you've got to take care of them, right back. But the wrong way of doing it, when you're sitting there and these numbers get so large and you truly just don't know what to do, and because you're sitting there in the midst of chaos and just a tornado, just nonstop. It's either subcontractors, there's a material house, or it's payroll's coming Friday. Oh my gosh, we didn't think about this. Talk about just maintenance and repairs in our world. I combat that the most in downtime, and those things that can hit you at the worst time. And putting a dozer back together, there's no parts that are cheap. If you put an excavator, there's nothing that's cheap in our world. Our fuel bill isn't cheap to move dirt efficiently, but that all can stack and compound. The number one thing I would say is lean on your influences and relationships. Talk about your struggles with them. They need to hear them, because at the same time, there's a lot more folks in those positions than you think there is, and they've probably been there themselves, if they're anybody that you're actually looking up to, and most often than not have walked in the same shoes that you're in and can give you the guidance that you need. But yes, mentors, influences, relationships. Business is freaking hard, dude. Like, it is. I don't care what industry you're in. Pick an industry, take your licks for a decade, and you'll somewhat kind of have it figured out. But your job is to not let it compound in the wrong direction for so long. It's your job to ensure that, no, number one, don't let it compound at all. But at the same time, if you do, buck up, have the phone calls, talk with these people, communicate. They will work with you, and keep fighting every single day. You got to get up. Don't stick your freaking head in the sand. Everything gets 10 times harder, and fight. They'll work with you.
Yep. I love that. What's one thing, on the spirit of that, what's one thing contractors, if you could just tell them, just stop doing this one thing that would add so much more, money and time back to their lives? Is there something that you could think of off the bat?
Stop buying machines you don't need.
You,
and
I'll
here's
tell you what, you're not the first person in the dirt world I've ever heard say that.
And here's my thing, guys. And what I mean by that, everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's funny. But no, I mean, literally, you don't even have to buy them. You can have the same machines that, say there's a guy out there with 5 or 6 machines and he's wanting to scale and grow. Hey, dude, you don't have to put the debt on your balance sheet. Go lease the machine, go to the Caterpillar or whatever dealership and go, hey, do you offer a 1-year lease? Find out what that is, or 2-year lease for the contract you're looking at. You don't have to buy the dadgum machine. And nobody told me that starting off. Nobody,
I love it.
I didn't have that experience. You know what I mean? But if you guys think these big boy companies out there aren't RPO and LPO and 20-30% of their fleet, you guys are freaking crazy. They have to. It's expensive, the game we play, guys.
Yeah.
But they just know methods to the madness that we don't know. And I know there's we all, as contractors, well, that tool is going to make my job 15 times minute, whatever, however, faster, quicker, easier, doesn't matter the verb or adjective. We just think we got to have it. So we'll just throw it on a credit card or put it on account, and it'll hit us when the cash is good, la-di-da-di-da. And then all of a sudden, it
Yeah.
definitely stacks up against you, and you're sitting there a slave to the debt.
It might save you time if you already paid for it and you already own it, but it's not going to save you time or money if you don't have enough work to use it. When does it break even? When does it return on the capital invested? Is it worth it? I mean, there's so many questions there. I got one last question for you. This podcast is called the Mobilization Mindset. So I will ask you, what is one mindset shift that, if there's a guy out there listening to this right now and they're working 70 hours a week and they're barely paying themselves and they're wondering, you're like, why does this feel still so hard? It's so difficult and I'm losing. What's that shift in their mindset that they can make right now so they can start winning?
You have to win the day. You have to win the day. And guess what? Don't get bothered when you lose. You're going to lose. You're like, Sy, well, that's easier said than done. Yes. And guess what? Sometimes there's months of every day punching you in the face with loss. But guess what? If they're stringing together loss, you're going to have a bunch of wins strung together eventually, brother. I promise you. But I'm coming from a string of absolute loss here in the last little bit, but I know mine's coming and I have to live by faith, man. You got to have some support and behind the scenes, but literally just don't give up. You're not stuck unless you're unless you just flat out stop. And even, I don't care what pinch, where you're at. I've been there. I've probably had worse. Not even going to lie to you, but just put your boots on, put your jeans on, get
Yep.
and act like I want you to move and act like the 2-year version of yourself and think about that person. But the last thing I will say is when you're sitting there making those stupid, tough business decisions, man, talk to yourself because honestly, ultimately, I'm sorry, talk to your oldest version of yourself that you can think of. And that happens to be, a 75-year-old man on the front porch of my front porch. And literally that's the person I've got to answer to and God at the end of this. And of course, your spouse and my wife and my kids and thinking of their future. But literally, when I sit there and make some business decisions, you got to have that talk to that 75-year-old man. You've got to like, hey, dude, is this a good thing here at the end of life for you? So that's kind of how I look at that. And I'm telling you guys, I have made a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad decisions. I'm not sitting here talking from a high valued, super profitable spot. I know how to get there, but at the same time, it's from my exact experience of doing it wrong.
Yeah, man, that's a great, there's not much left to be said there. That is a excellent way to think about it. And I've never heard that analogy before. Think of the oldest version of yourself and how would that person guide you? You'd be surprised that you probably have the answer right inside.
Most of the
Nah,
time,
man,
buddy.
I love it. Now, one thing I want people to know is you have an excellent podcast we've talked about, but you also have an excellent YouTube channel with lots of great content. So for folks that are starting your business, tackling new problems, seeing things in the field. You want to hear more of Sy's stories. He's great on his YouTube channel, which you can definitely check out at Sy-Con Construction on YouTube or Sy-Con Excavation and Utilities on YouTube. It's excellent. Your LinkedIn channel, and of course, it's easy to find you. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you very much. I love it.
Brother, been a blast. I hope it helps somebody. And yeah, thank you for your time, my guy.
Likewise, I'm sure it was. Everybody, give us a support. Find us on mobilizationfunding.com, our YouTube channel, Mobilization Funding. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Share this video if you found something interesting. Let people know about both of us. That's a good way to share the program and let help us out too. In the meantime, have a great week and may God bless you.